Hello, this is your Commodore, Ty Coles here, with the review of Star Trek Picard, Season 1, Episode 1, Remembrance. Yes, people, Star Trek Picard is out. And the first episode was okay. I liked it, and it brought back a lot of memories of TNG. Because I'm in my 30s, I grew up with The Next Generation. That was the Star Trek I grew up with. And I'm glad to see a lot of what I grew up with was in this show. Because the opening shot, you had the amazing shot of the Enterprise D. I didn't care for the music that was playing, but the shot, the CGI that went into that is amazing.
Nothing but blue skies do I see.
That they made the Enterprise look amazing. Like, it was nice, shiny, metallic looking. It looked like something that you would see in a reboot of Star Trek The Next Generation. And then we go in through the windows to 10 forward. Yes, it didn't look exactly like 10 forward, but it still looked very similar. Like, unless you want to be like a complete nitpicker, to me, I just saw 10 forward.
You have a tell. That is impossible, sir. Every now and then, you dilate your left pupil. Ostentatiously, I might add.
Yes, it might have had a window miss. The windows weren't exactly alike, but you got to remember, that set, the original 10 forward set, has not been built since the 1990s. And they made a damn good copy of it. The one thing I did complain, I think it was a little weird, is seeing Data in the military style, the late DS9, the Star Trek, later Star Trek films uniform. Because later in the show, you'll see it, they show the proper Next Generation uniforms. So I think they could have easily just switched the uniforms. Would have been a lot better. But still a good thing to see Brent Spiner as Data. And they're playing poker.
See? And raise. Call.
It's fun to see that because that's how The Next Generation end. With Picard finally sitting down with his staff, his senior officers, and playing poker.
I should have done this a long time ago.
You were always welcome.
So, 5-card stud, nothing wild. And the sky's the limit.
Great way to start Picard, with Picard and Data playing poker. But you realize it's a complete dream. When I realized it was a complete dream was when you saw 5 Queens of Hearts. That's when it tipped me off. This ain't real. Like, we knew it wasn't real, but that was he's remembering some old memory.
This isn't right.
So he wakes up, and we see the beautiful Chateau Picard. There are people saying that he's wealthy and he could afford something like that. But you gotta remember, in Star Trek Generations, his family died, so of course he's gonna have Chateau Picard, regardless of wealth, because they probably left it to the last surviving Picard. So then we get to meet the female protagonist of the first episode, Dash. And she's with her boyfriend, that creepy species that was in Discovery with the 2 sets of blinking eyes. Still can't get over that.
I love how they do that.
We're celebrating.
Yes. use those famous Zagan instincts.
Couldn't they have at least used a species that more people are familiar with than something they came up with Discovery? Stop trying to make Discovery as great as it is. But then you get these 3 guys in complete black suits beaming in, and they kill him instantly. And they attack Dash. And even before the reveal at the later part of the episode, I had a sneaking suspicion these were Romulan. If you look at the equipment that they were using, it looks like an advanced version of the stuff you see them use in The Next Generation. But once they try to kidnap her, she just gets into, let's just say, kick-ass mode and kills all 3 of them. And then runs because she gets this wave saying a vision of Picard. So we go into the theme. Don't care for it. Like, it might grow on me because after watching the episode a couple times to do this review, I didn't hate it, but I still don't really like it. I just can't put my finger on it. Maybe it sounds like too depressing, too slow, soft, and it doesn't bring you that energy that Star Trek usually brings. But at least it's better than the Discovery one, that's for damn sure. Then we go back to the chateau, and my God, the cinematography on these shots that showed the chateau were just gorgeous. Much props to the camera team, the cinematography on that, because you get to see the beauty of Chateau Picard, like the entire landscape. You truly feel like you're in a French vineyard. And to emphasize that they're in France, Picard speaks French.
Je sais que tu penses ramener ça à la maison, mais c'est hors de question.
People might criticize that, but you got to remember, Picard does speak French in The Next Generation.
Santé, comme c'est merveilleux de vous voir ici.
Incroyable. Vous êtes parisienne.
Au fond, c'est vrai, nous sommes toutes parisiennes.
Ah oui. Au fond, nous sommes tous parisiennes.
So, that was nice to see. And it looks like he has some friends/servants, caretakers.
Number 1, what do you have?
You mean, whom does he have?
A little assassin.
Well, even assassins need a bath sometime.
At first I thought they were Vulcan, but then after close looking at them, I believe they're Romulan. Because Picard, if you trace his history, Picard has always had some connection with Romulans. He believes that they aren't at all bad, that we should try to mend fences with the Romulans. And you hear that he's going to have an interview. This is where I get a little ticked off. Not about the interview. The interviewer pissed me off. She pissed me off. Because just before they start the interview, Picard's like, are we just going to talk about the supernova? And his one assistant said, yes. I went over it 3 separate times.
You went over the terms 3 times, sir. She assured me she will not inquire about your separation from Starfleet.
But she does it anyway.
We withdrew. The galaxy was mourning, burying its dead, and Starfleet slunk from its duties.
So she was completely unprofessional on that. And for doing that, despite saying you agreed to not do it 3 separate times. and that her bias towards the Romulans, that she believes that they shouldn't be saved. This is probably the biggest complaint about the new Alex Kurtzman Star Trek. You lost the hope, the utopia. It's a dystopia now. And a character like that proves it. It's like, screw the Romulans, they should have died. Forget about trying to save people. And then backstabbing the person that agreed to do an interview with you under one condition. I hated that part. Patrick Stewart as Picard played it off perfectly. And he told her what was what.
The decision to call off the rescue and to abandon those people we had sworn to save was not just dishonorable. It was downright criminal. And I was not prepared to stand by and be a spectator.
This was not Starfleet. And he's exactly right. If you been watching Discovery and you watched a bit of Picard and the short treks, that's not Starfleet. What we watched in the original series, in Next Generation, in Deep Space Nine, in Voyager, even in Enterprise, that was Starfleet. And we find out in the short trek that it was synthetic life forms that attacked Mars. And that all synthetic life forms were banned. So, all the great stuff that Lieutenant Commander Data did, which Picard never lost faith in, as shown in the interview.
Lieutenant Commander Data, operations officer on the Enterprise, was synthetic. Did you ever lose faith in him?
Never.
And they turned their back on some rogue, because some rogues destroyed Mars. Yes, that was a tragedy. It was announced as a tragedy in the short trek. Taj finally got to meet Picard for the first time. She found him at his vineyard.
Do you know me?
No.
Look at me. You're not sure.
She stayed the night, but then before the morning broke, before he woke up, she ran off, and Picard had a dream about Data again.
Would you like to finish it, Captain?
But yet, in a couple scenes later, when Picard goes to see the museum where he stores his stuff, and I'm glad they kept it to the Next Generation stuff, not the redesigned crap that we see in Discovery. Like, we see a real battle. We see a great representation of the Stargazer. And you know it's the Stargazer, not some reimagining constellations. You see the Captain Picard Day banner, which was shown in an episode.
Oh, no, I think the resemblance is rather striking. Wouldn't you agree, number one? Isn't there something else you have to do? I'll be on the bridge.
But at that point, you see him talking to a hologram.
Index. Identify this painting.
Item 227.67, Archives of Jean-Luc Picard. Admiral, retired.
Are holograms considered synthetic life forms? Because they had something very similar in the Star Trek Voyager episode when the Doctor was on trial to see if he was a life form or not. Sentient or not.
Our definition of what constitutes a person has continued to evolve. Now we're asking that you expand that definition once more to include our Doctor.
Because holograms are synthetic. They're produced by computer imagery, whereas a android is made by mechanics and circuitry. So that's something they're going to have to explain. Is a hologram considered a synthetic life form? Because you are creating something using computerized means. I think Trekyards did a great video on that. I'll share the link for that. Definitely check it out. And then we see Taj come back to Picard after running away. And this is when we learn that she could be the daughter of Data. And Picard says she means more to him than what she thinks.
If you are who I think you are dear to me in ways that you can't understand.
Shortly after, she dies after trying to save Picard from a Romulan attack. And then, after the death, Picard wants to go find the secrets about her. He goes to the Dayston Institute, talks to one of the people he knows there, and they bring up a familiar name, Bruce Maddox.
It's good to see you again, Admiral. May I present Commander Bruce Maddox? Commander? Here's an interesting proposal for you, but that can wait for a while. I'm eager to see the Enterprise.
So overall, a solid episode, a great way to kick off Picard. You get tons of nods to the Next Generation. Patrick Stewart, brilliant in his role. You see Picard. You don't see Patrick Stewart. You see Picard. And the last shot of the scene with the Borg cube, and that he realizes Dash has a twin sister. So what's going to happen next? How much of the Borg, will the Borg even show up? Because you do see a Borg ship that's in the control, I believe Romulans or Vulcans or someone. I don't get the hate on it. Is it because Discovery was so bad that we can't open up our minds to this? I hope the people in the fellow nerd community can at least open up their minds now. Watch Star Trek Picard with unbiased opinion and give us a proper review and not a biased, I hate it because it's a Kurtzman project, or I'm going to rip it apart just to rip it apart. But from what I see, I hope Picard continues this way. They're respecting the material that came before it, and I hope you can all enjoy Star Trek Picard, because I did. So for your Commodore Ty Coles, live long and prosper. Hailing frequencies closed. Thank you for watching Commodore Ty and enjoying this video. I hope you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and if while you're here, check out one of my other videos. Live long and prosper. Hailing frequencies closed.